Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this episode of the Spearhead Sundays podcast. I'm your host, Lewis Spears. We are back. We're going to pack show. We're going to talk about all of the Charlie Kirk stuff, of course, all the Jimmy Kimmel stuff. I had some crazy things happen in Frankston recently. But first, we got to get into autism. Did you know that if you have a Panadol, you're going to make your baby autistic? My mother must have been smashing Panadols when she was pregnant with me. I'm going to call her immediately and say, Mum, what the fuck was going on? Oh, you had a headache? Now I can't be in loud, confined spaces with lots of people because it overwhelms me because it's too noisy? You had a Panadol because you were dealing with pregnancy pain. Now I need a Panadol if I have to go outside in public and talk to someone. For fuck's sake, Mum, you made me autistic. Or at least according to Donald Trump and the Kennedy that still has some of his brains left. Isn't that wild that the living Kennedy still has a piece of his own brain missing? Seems to be a bit of a hazard being a Kennedy. If you are born a Kennedy, you have a high chance of having part of your brain obliterated, either by a bullet or by a doctor and a lobotomy or a worm. The universe is conspiring against the brains of the Kennedy family, and I need to understand why. There's something going on there. But I watched the conference that Donald Trump did. I think it was this morning for Australia. And my favorite thing about Donald Trump is whenever he talks about anything medical, because he has absolutely no idea what's going on. But I think he actually tries to be honest about not really knowing what's going on, but he also can't help but make really strong, clear assertions. And these two ideas are battling inside his brain, where you see him go, this is true. And then he'll just go, is that true? What was the thing? I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of like, I think he was talking about Tylenol having Tylenol when you're pregnant makes your kid autistic. And he said it like almost unequivocally, like if you have Tylenol, your kid's gonna be really good at math and really bad at eye contact. And then he just looks at RFK and he goes, is that true, Bobby? I don't know, man. What are you saying? You're the president. It's your press conference. I love it. It's good. And as an aspiring immigrant, I support him 100%. Even when he contradicts himself, I'm with him all the way. I'm turning around too. Let's go, Donald Trump. God bless Israel. I'm all in. Let me in. Let me in. Let's just say I'm having some thoughts. Not second thoughts, but I'm having some additional context is being added to the do I want to move to America plan. And I think at the moment it's still yes. At the moment I was tossing up, but previously I was tossing up between New York and Austin because those are the two comedy places. And let me just say I'm moving a lot more towards New York. I don't know. I just would like to be able to navigate a place without needing an armored car. And at the moment, that is New York, as long as you fucking have body armor. I don't know. Fun country. You know, I just actually talked to one of my neighbors. They moved back from America this week because of all of this stuff. The wife is Australian. The husband is a Texan, born and bred Texan. And even he was like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I'd been talking to her father because they're staying with him while they figure their shit out. And I've been talking to him for months. And I've mentioned, oh, yeah, I want to go to America. And he was like, oh, you shouldn't do that. My daughter's coming home and I couldn't be happier. And then I met her for the first time today, and the whole conversation, she was just like, here's why you should not move there. I did it, and I've left, and so is my Texan husband. If the Texans are leaving, something's cooking in that country. She had a little baby, and I was like, I bet you're stoked that that thing won't come out with an American accent now. And she goes, yeah, I am. That would be the worst thing about moving countries is your child has their accent. I think that would be the worst thing about moving to a country where they speak the same language as you. Your kid speaks your language but has their accent. That would be annoying. A child with an American accent would undoubtedly be more difficult to love as an Australian. I mean, didn't Cillian Murphy, the equivalent for Australian, and it's even stronger for like Irish and English, right? Didn't Cillian Murphy, he lived in England and he moved his kid back to Ireland because he noticed that they were getting English accents and he was disgusted. He was like, ugh, the Queen's English coming out of my children's mouth, disgusting. I can't have that. You're going to Cork. You're going to Cork. One of the only Irish towns that I know that isn't Dublin or Belfast. But Belfast, for some reason, thinks they're English or something. I don't know. Speaking of, I'm going to be touring the United Kingdom and Ireland in next month. It starts. I'm kicking off in London. I just finished the Australia tour, but we've got a bunch of dates. Where the fuck am I going? I'm going all over, dude. I can't wait. I'm so fucking excited to go back. I feel like now, because it's not going to be so new and so touristy for me, I'll be able to kind of experience it more. Like, I'm not going to be learning how to do the trains and navigating all of that stuff. It'll just feel a lot simpler. I've got London, Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds, Edinburgh, Belfast, Dublin, Glasgow, Liverpool, and Bristol. The second London show is almost sold out. The first one's gone. The second one is almost full. I think there's like 20 seats left. Every single show is selling like crazy, except for Liverpool, which for some reason has still only sold 9 tickets. I would really like you to buy some fucking tickets if you live in Liverpool, because that was my favorite city to be in, and I booked an extra couple of days, and that cost me more. So if I sell way less tickets, that will be a disaster. No, but it's going to be fun, and I can't wait, and I have faith that the people of Liverpool will show up. So yeah, apparently having Panadol when you're pregnant gives children autism. I just read dozens of articles, or I didn't read them. I read dozens of headlines of articles without even clicking on them, all saying that that's just bullshit and verifiably false. But who fucking knows? I did read one, and they were like, no, Panadol doesn't give children autism, the fever does, and people who get a fever take Panadol, but it's not the Panadol or the Tylenol or whatever. It's the fever that makes them autistic. So I don't fucking know. I mean, I would imagine that it's probably good. It's probably good for pregnant women to take as little like over-the-counter medicine as possible. But sometimes that's unavoidable. It seems like, I mean, like 1 or 2 glasses of wine is all right a night, and then like maybe a couple during the day. Like that's okay. But probably a Panadol is no good. Like, you know, a glass of wine, maybe a couple cigs. On a Friday, like if you're a pregnant lady or a pregnant man, if it's Friday, you can have 1 cigarette. You can have 1 cigarette on a Friday, and you know, if you are in Frankston, little bit of crack, not a lot, just a little bit on a Saturday. So, couple wines every night, And then, you'll probably be a little bit hungover in the morning. So you have a few beers in the morning with breakfast, and breakfast is a coffee and another cigarette. And then, you could have like McDonald's for like lunch if you get a little bit hungry. After that, it's dinner time. Again, probably 2 wines. And then on Friday, you can have like a couple, like a line. Saturday, little bit of crack if you're into that. And just don't take a Panadol and you'll be all right. I think that's the real problem with if Panadol does make children autistic in the womb, the real problem with that is, what are you supposed to do when you're hungover and you're pregnant? Well, you just can't have any Tylenol now? You can't have anything for your headache? Like, isn't that a little bit irresponsible to have all of these mothers who are waking up, it's like their 3rd trimester. They were out last night, Thursday night, at the RSL. They're drinking heavy and they wake up with a headache. And what are you going to tell them? No, you can't have a Panadol because you're going to make your baby autistic? That mum has been out drinking all night. If she can't have a Panadol, she won't be able to go to work. So, I mean, this administration just feels like they don't care about pregnant women. Plus, like, having an autistic child, like that could be cool. I mean, do we want to win the AI race or not? I think it's time to get serious. I think it's time to start mandating use of Tylenol for pregnant women. Because otherwise China's going to beat us, because the only thing that can compete with Chinese intelligence is autism. Because I don't know about you, but I've never seen a super intelligent Chinese autistic person. They're undoubtedly smarter than us, the Chineses. Their geniuses are smarter than our geniuses, but our autistic savants are smarter than their autistic Chineses. Have you noticed that? I've never seen a super intelligent autistic Chinese person. So that's how we're going to win the AI race. They've just got all of their regular, sociable Chinese people with high intelligence. But we've got all of our fucking unwashed, unable to make eye contact, wearing noise-canceling headphones most of the time, spectrum to the gills, autistic superintelligence people, and that is how we're going to win the AI war. It really is Asian intelligence versus autistic intelligence, isn't it? And I think we're going to win as long as we keep giving Tylenol to pregnant women, especially the ones with hangovers. Maybe that's the only way to balance. Maybe, hey, if you drink and have a Panadol, do you just get a normal kid at the end? Do they cancel each other out? You have a Panadol, you go, fuck, he's going to be retarded. That's right, I'll have a couple of wines. Normal kid. Is that how it works? I don't know. I've never been pregnant. So anyway, I'm going to get into the Charlie Kirk and the Jimmy Kimmel stuff, but yeah, I've been sick. Sorry, I've missed a couple of episodes. I don't know, it's kind of annoying. I had my last Frankston show, and whenever the weather changes, I don't know if you can tell, I'm all stuffy, especially coming into spring. My asthma was playing up, and then I couldn't talk without coughing for more than a minute. So I was like, I'll just delay the podcast, and it just didn't get better. And then I probably could have done it because I missed this Sunday. I probably could have recorded it, but I was like, I don't want to risk it because I've got the Frankston show, and I knew it was going to be a hot show, and I'd be performing for a while. So I thought, I don't want to risk losing my voice. So I'll do the show, and then the show was Saturday night, and then on Sunday I'll do the podcast. And then on Sunday after the show, I woke up and I had no voice. So I was like, okay, fuck, I gotta wait. So, but I'm here now. I'm sorry. And I'm going to make it up to you. There will be 2 podcasted 1 week in the near future because I do want to do 52 episodes this year. So yeah, sorry about that. And the Patreon podcast will also be coming out too. Yeah, dude, this Charlie Kirk stuff is horrific. That's how I feel about it. It's fucking terrible. Political violence is very bad. And this one feels especially bad because when people make the argument for political violence, it's like, sometimes it's the only way that things can change. And it's like, okay, so what have you changed by killing a YouTuber? Like I understand the guy was influential, but as far as political violence goes, this was fucking cowardly. You know? Like, oh, like that's killing a guy that's on the radio. You know, like if you genuinely thought Adolf Hitler was coming to power and you decide to kill a guy that's big on radio, you're a pussy. You haven't done anything. I don't know. Political violence is bad, and this feels especially bad. And I think because it's just I think it's very scary. Here's what I imagine. It's like I couldn't imagine being someone like Hassan Piker right now. Because now you got to worry about the fucking psycho on the right that's going to get you because it's seen as this equivalency. I think what's really scary about it is like if I imagine if I were like a political commentator, right? But I was my size right now and I just saw, Charlie Kirk getting murked, right? I would be thinking, holy fuck. Am I a target? If so, I definitely can't afford security, but also this is my job. I can't afford to stop. And that has like a real chilling effect on free speech across the political spectrum. And unfortunately, what will happen is Charlie Kirk doesn't get replaced by a more reasonable version of him. It's a guy who is crazy enough to sit in the same chair where the last guy got assassinated, except this time he feels like what he's doing can get him killed and he's angry about the guy that he's replacing being killed. You've just replaced him with a more extreme version of that. You're pushing it even further right. And, you know, I disagreed with Charlie on just about everything. He spoke really well. He was a good debater when it came to arguing with fucking university students who had never held a microphone in their lives. If you get into an argument with someone and you know how to hold a microphone and talk into it and the other person doesn't, you win. Has anyone here ever spoken into a microphone in front of people for the first time ever? And you know how fucking scary that is? I couldn't imagine trying to keep ideas in my head when I'm trying to, like, you know, my first time performing stand-up comedy, I was like, I didn't do very well because of I didn't know how to hold the microphone, how close or far away. And I was doing this shit, being like, can they hear me? So to be having a debate about abortion at the same time, you're probably going to come out more fucked than a pulled apart fetus. Your argument will, if you don't know how to hold the microphone. But he said a bunch of things I did agree with. He said a bunch of things I did not agree with. But I didn't think he was like this fucking evil threat that everyone was painting him out to be. Even afterwards, when people are painting him out to be the worst thing or the best thing ever, it's like he was like a mix of those things. I do think it's funny, like the like as soon as he dies, people are trying to paint him out as a saint or an evil person. And I kept seeing these compilation videos of like, here are all of the horrible misogynistic and racist things that Charlie said. And he said a bunch of things that I thought were very gross. But the worst thing that he said that I saw that made me go, oh, what the fuck? And then I went, hang on. And I looked into it and I was like, oh, there's footage of him. And you've probably seen this, right? I saw it on TikTok with like, you know, a quote saying Charlie wasn't racist. And then this plays. And it's him on stage and he's real angry and he gets up out of his chair and he's screaming at someone in the audience. And he goes, I'm a capitalist, Cenk! I'm a capitalist, Cenk! And I saw that and I was like, what the fuck? Charlie Kirk hates Asian people. I've never seen this. This is crazy. And then I was like, hang on a second. And then I Googled it and I was like, he was yelling at a guy, a left-wing political commentator whose name is Cenk, C-E-N-K. I was like, oh, I know that guy. That's the Young Turks guy. But that video, I've seen at least a dozen times, and each time it has like millions of views and all these people going, oh my God, he hated Asian people. And he was just yelling at a guy called Cenk. So yeah, I don't think he's like a saint, and I disagree with many of his political ideas, but to see him killed is horrific and atrocious, and a really, really bad sign for the health of that country, the public. What's the word? Like the social cohesion of that country. It's really bad, and what I found particularly disgusting were people celebrating his death. Now, I'm a comedian, and I have joked about many people the second they've died, but I've never been happy that they died, right? I was like, the Prince Philip thing, okay, I may have gotten a little carried away and went, oh, but I was excited that he died during my joke about him. I wasn't happy that he was dead. I was like shocked at the coincidence of it all. And also I was very elated because I thought, fuck, this is going to get a lot of views now. Like I understood in the minute, I was like, this is going to go very viral. I wasn't happy that he died. And also he died a natural, like a beautiful natural death. He lived to his old age. He died how all of us should. In a bed, surrounded by family and full of racist thoughts and beliefs. He died how all of us should. So surrounded by money garnered from slavery and oppression, bejeweled by blood diamonds. He died as all of us should. But I saw people like genuinely celebrating the fact that not even like the fact, I think it's a little bit different even to celebrating the fact that someone died, right? So like Margaret Thatcher died and people celebrated because they thought she was a horrible person, but she died of old age. What was particularly bad about it was people celebrating the fact that someone killed him, someone assassinated him. And then I saw all of this fucking bullshit discourse about, well, sometimes political violence is necessary. And it's like, do you understand what political violence is? Like, you don't want violence to be part of the political process, because political violence doesn't just happen once. It doesn't only happen to the other team. It's so funny. It's so ironic, people pointing out the irony of Charlie Kirk supporting the Second Amendment. People go, oh, it's so ironic that he was killed by the guns that he defends, while they also celebrate the fact that he was assassinated and they celebrated political violence. It's like, that's just as ironic, because what you're doing is condoning the tool that will be used against you. the same as he was doing, right? Yes, it is ironic that he was killed by a gun, but I think that's a tragedy and that's a travesty and that's horrible and no one should be fucking murdered. I think a lot of it is like all these people celebrating and being joyous when finding out that like a young man's killed. That like they've never experienced violence. Like I know what happens when someone gets murdered. I know, and it's not just the person that gets killed. It's a horrific chain of hurt and pain and violence that emanates from the person that was killed and wounds so many people. I carry one of those wounds. I know what it's like when someone's murdered. I've never spoken about this, and I'm not going to talk about it properly for a very long time, but I understand what happens to other people when someone they love is murdered, and it's the most horrible, awful, terrible thing. And I don't think that it should have happened. And I think that people celebrating it is very concerning and very gross and scary because it just makes the other side go, oh, you want to kill me? You want me dead. You want to kill me. And that heats up everything. And that makes it more likely for, retributions. And I actually think like all of this is, I think that, because obviously, what I'm talking about, political violence being bad, that's like, so many people have said that. Here's something that I don't think anyone has said, or at least I haven't seen it. I think that this killing of Charlie Kirk is all downstream from the healthcare CEO getting killed and also the Trump attempt. I think that we may start seeing more of these attempts and assassinations because the media makes the people who attempt and the people who succeed famous. And we saw this with like Luigi Mangione. He was so celebrated and he's viral and he's still going viral and he's in the news and he's got fan clubs and all this kind of stuff and blah, blah, blah. And like, I'm not commenting on on whether or not what he did was bad. I'm talking about like this phenomena of he did it and then we made him famous. Same thing happened with the Trump attempt. You see that guy's face and name everywhere now. Same things happen with this person that's killed Charlie Kirk. You're going to see their face and their name and their backstory and their motivations and their manifestos and all this kind of stuff everywhere, right? You know what it reminds me of heaps? School shootings. Because you remember when school shootings started to happen, they were like the worst thing ever. The most horrific, and they still are. It's the most horrific thing that can ever happen. But when they first started happening, they were shocking. Very depressingly, they are not shocking anymore. It's another thing that is only. What's the tragedy of school shootings now is that they are only shocking to the parents and the people who knew the kids. The rest of us are just like, another one. Damn. They should stop doing that. And then we move on. It's not shocking anymore because it happens so often. But when they first started happening, they were so shocking to every single person that the people that did them became famous and their manifestos and it was news for months, not like days. Now it's days. Someone shoots up a school. We find out why they did it. We don't even really see their face. People argue about it. Ban guns, don't ban guns, more guns, less guns. And then we don't give a fuck. And then another one happens 2 days later and it just keeps going on. But the reason why they started happening with such frequency is because the media made the perpetrators famous and so did we. And that showed all of these hurt, mentally ill, violent, suicidal kids that, I could just do that and get all of this attention. if I can't get positive attention, I can get huge amounts of negative attention. And all this, sorry, I'm still struggling with my voice. All of this evil pain and hurt and trauma and violence that lives within me, I can externalize that, and I can what's inside me, I can do it to the world, right? And we know, I mean, psychologists and experts have been screaming this from the rooftops since school shootings started to become more frequent. We know the more that you publicize the killers, their manifestos, their motivations, their names and their faces, the more you talk about them and promote them and put them out there, the more they inspire others to do similar actions. And I think a huge reason why school shootings, in addition to us making these people famous, in addition to why they became this like social contagion almost amongst unbelievably disaffected kids, is because, you know, it is seen as like an option of like, oh fuck, I can just do that. I can just give that a go. I could just fucking, I identify with this kid that did Columbine. I see the depression and the hate and the bullying and the exclusion and the abuse in the family home and all these other things. I see myself in this perpetrator. So the school shooting can be an option for this pain and hurt and hatred I have inside me. That's an option. Like when I was doing radio and we had to go through on-air training, there are a bunch of things that you're not allowed to say on radio, specifically about eating disorders and about suicide. So when someone has, or not even eating disorders, but when someone loses weight rapidly, you're actually not allowed to talk about how much better they look and all this kind of stuff, because people know it can trigger eating disorders. Or if someone has an eating disorder, you can't say, well, they look a lot better now, or you can't comment on their weight a lot, because we know that it triggers eating disorders and it encourages that among young girls. Same thing with when a famous person kills themselves. You will notice, I don't know if it's the same in America, but in Australia, you will never, ever hear anyone on TV or on radio say anything along the lines of they're in a better place, or their suffering is over, or at least they're not in pain, or anything that even remotely implies that suicide is a solution to mental health problems, because that's what the most depressed and suicide people struggling with suicidal ideation, it's all about escaping pain. And if you talk about suicide and say they escaped their pain, someone struggling goes, fuck, they did it, so can I can be free of this. And that's obviously not true, and that's why you don't say it, because experts know that results in more deaths and more harm. The same thing is true of school shootings. When you make these people famous, it attracts other nutter disaffected people, and they see themselves in these perpetrators, and then they go, well, that's something that I can do. I think that is what you're going to see with these public assassination attempts and successes. This is the new shocking thing, because that's what school shootings used to be. It used to be like, oh, I can do all of this pain, all this kind of stuff, and I can get all of this attention. Because it is, as disgusting as it is, a huge cry for help, right? It's an evil act, but it is like the ultimate fucking, I'm putting all of my pain onto you. I'm showing you how hurt I am by doing the most disgusting, vile, reprehensible thing. And these perpetrators are not victims, obviously, but that's what that is, as we know that's what that is. And a big part of that, almost a requirement, I think, is the shock element of like, oh my God, this is so fucking horrible. This is terrible. But school shootings, no one cares anymore. They happen all the time. It makes the news for 1 or 2 days, and then we don't have capacity to care about them because they happen all the time. This Charlie Kirk thing, the Luigi Mangione thing, and the Trump attempt, that shocks us. That makes perpetrators famous. That makes us talk about them and their manifestos and their motivations and their lives and their backstory and the hurt they've been through. And that, we know, inspires more. So I think what's scary about the Charlie Kirk thing, especially the people celebrating it, because that's another thing. You'll never see anyone celebrate a school shooting like they would celebrate the assassination of a political opponent or a fucking podcaster that they disagreed with. So these nutters are now saying, fuck, not only do I get to put all of this evil out there and all this hurt that I've been through and I get to use it as a weapon, I might even get some fans out of it. So that's what's really, that's what when I see people celebrating it and making these people famous, it reminds me so much of school shootings and how they became like a social contagion for really mentally ill, really traumatized and hurt kids. So yeah, I don't know. That's scary, man. That's a very scary thing, and obviously it's particularly close to me because I perform in front of people and I say controversial things. So obviously I'm going to be particularly sympathetic to anyone, regardless of political beliefs, that gets killed like that. I really like what Friendly Geordie said about it, which is all these people celebrating political violence have no fucking idea what a country where political violence is part of the process is actually like, where everyone running knows they could get killed, where everyone advocating for one side or another knows they could get killed, where all of the people know that killing is an option that they can do to influence this or that. That is a fucking hellscape that no one wants to live in. And also, here's what I thought. Anyone who thinks killing is going to advance rights for trans or gay people is fucking insane. Do you know what's on the bottom of the priority list during a violent revolution? Hormone replacement therapy. Like when you're fighting an asymmetrical guerrilla war with the government and your neighbors, no one's worrying about pronouns. No one's worrying about gender reassignment surgery. No one's very concerned with you and your boyfriend's gay relationship. Like, that is not how that gets advanced. That is how it absolutely 100% gets regressed. The more violent and warlike a society becomes, the less progressive it is. Violence will never advance social justice causes like that. It'll only set it back. Not when you are that, like, such a tiny, small minority of the population. It is just not how it works. You look at, like, women's rights in any country that is going through any sort of conflict or crisis. Rights of children is an even better example. Like, no one's caring about child welfare when the fucking life expectancy of everyone is lowered. I just think, like, it's the wrong path. It's not good. And I thought that I watched the memorial. A lot of it was fucking very, God, it was so American. The fireworks and the fucking rock concert vibes and all this kind of stuff, and so political and so partisan as well. Like, but I watched Erica, his wife, talk, and I loved everything that she said. And I thought it was so brave and beautiful and unbelievably inspiring and shocking, and oh my, what the fuck? She said, "I forgive you." Wow. I think that's so powerful and so beautiful. And that is the response that we need because that's the only thing that's going to, bring us together. Unfortunately, that's annoying. That sucks. But the only response to violence and cruelty and evil is love and empathy and compassion and grace. Sorry, I don't like it any more than you do. And I'm saying this as someone who intimately understands murder and how that affects people around the victim. And seeing her do that, when I know how impossible that is and I'm not there, that made me go, wow, what a strong woman. Regardless of their political beliefs, and this is not an endorsement of their political philosophy because I disagree with them a lot, but that is beautiful. Unfortunately, the only response is compassion and peace and love. And oh, that sucks. That's difficult. That's very hard to do. I'm not there yet. I'm striving every day to arrive. And so must we all. Because otherwise, what's the alternative? We're just going to keep killing each other, eye for an eye, until we've got no electricity? Yeah, let's try that. Jimmy Kimmel getting fired was fucking bullshit. Did you go and watch what he actually said? I did. It was true. If you listen to what he actually said, it was true. Now, I will say it was, what am I trying to say here? He omitted, what am I trying to say? What he said was something along the lines of, Charlie Kirk died and immediately, and this is before they caught the killer. So that's the context. So the killer is on the loose. No one knows who he is. And that's when Jimmy goes out and says this. Something along the lines of, Charlie Kirk's killed, his killer is on the run, and the MAGA movement are doing everything in their power to make it look like it wasn't one of them that did it. And they're using it to score political points. That was true. That is still true. Every single person from the MAGA movement was trying to pin it on someone from the left. Every single person. Now, here's what Jimmy Kimmel should have done. He should have said, everyone on the left is trying to pin it on the right. That was also happening. So I think Jimmy fucked up by omitting that, because both sides of the aisle were just trying to go, oh, you did it. No, you did it. Because everyone on the left wanted it to be some like MAGA person or a groiper that killed Charlie for not being right-wing enough. And everyone on the right wanted it to be some fucking trans Tifa person who killed Charlie for trans rights. Turns out they might have had a point, and it's looking like they were correct. But when they didn't know that, it's still like using it as political points, and it's still like sowing division without knowing anything about it. And we still don't know the full fucking motive and all that kind of stuff. So it's like this is why we don't talk about this type of stuff, or we don't pin it on people before we know motives, because it just sows division and bullshit. But Jimmy Kimmel getting fired for that is fucking ridiculous. And it's just government censorship as well. And it looks like he's coming back. I just saw an article today saying that he's coming back in a few days. I would imagine that him and his lawyers just placed a piece of paper going, we're going to sue you for this amount. Like, I'll get fired, but you're going to be paying for my for my retirement and my massive YouTube podcast where I will be going in on you for years. And they were like, okay, maybe you can come back. So yeah, my view of the Jimmy Kimmel thing was him getting fired was ridiculous, and also people getting offended by it. I didn't see how it was offensive at all. It was just true. He did omit the fact that the left were also doing that, and I fucking hate when. I know some people hate when people both sides, but I think it's necessary. If people don't both sides, how do we fucking find any sort of common ground and build any sort of unity? And if you can't point out the nutters on both sides, the normal people can't come together because the normal people are only seeing the nutters on the other side. And then everyone goes fucking crazy. But yeah, him being fired for that is fucking ridiculous. Or temporarily taken off air. But yeah, dude, but now fucking, because that's what I'm saying, like, why the reason why this reminds me of school shootings so much and why celebrating political violence is so bad is because now every single Tonight Show host is going to be starting their show, and in the back of their mind, they're going to be thinking, am I getting killed tonight? Is this the night that someone sneaks a fucking knife or a handgun in and blows my head off live on air? Every single Twitch streamer that does, live streams or goes outside is going to be thinking, is this the night where someone fucking blows my head off? Every comedian on stage who tells jokes about, anything politically is going to be thinking, is this the night I get my head blown off? Like, it's like that political violence, and then also the government leaning on broadcasters and all this kind of stuff. It chills reasonable political discourse and jokes, and it elevates and maximizes crazy, violent, divisive rhetoric. And that breaks a country and its people. So that's why you can't celebrate political violence and you can't celebrate political censorship. Like seeing all of these fucking right-wing people that pretend to be these fucking protectors of free speech and seem to be and say that they're anti-cancel culture. They're the new snowflakes. It's so fucking hypocritical. And what's even more hypocritical is even all the people that knew Charlie Kirk actually intimately would all say he would be outraged by the Jimmy Kimmel getting fired thing, right? South Park took down their episode that Charlie Kirk was in it, and all of his friends said, put it back up. He loved that. He thought it was funny. He was honored to be made fun of by South Park because that meant he was making an impact. So to see all of these fake free speech warriors celebrating fucking Jimmy Kimmel getting taken down for jokes is just so fucking stupid. And also, we got to allow people to be wrong, like incorrect. We have to. There's a difference between lying and being incorrect. I think that Jimmy definitely should have added in the context that left were also doing that, but he didn't have to. I don't think it's a fireable offense to dunk on the right-wing people and not the left. That's not what I do, but I don't think it's wrong. I think it's bad business sense to only dunk on right-wing people or only dunk on left-wing people. And I think not just bad business sense, I think it's bad society sense. Because if you have every entertainer picking right or left and only going at the other side, your country breaks. As we're seeing. I don't know. I just don't... Yeah, killing the debating guy is very bad. It sends a very bad message that the time for talking with people that we disagree with is over. And that is very bad. Unfortunately, forgiveness and compassion is the response. It's the only response that makes sense. I have seen and personally experienced so much evil. And when murder and violence and when that touches your life, you want to rage. You want to. I still want to. I want to rage. I'm angry. I'm so many things. So many dark and evil things I am. Or I want to. But ultimately, that makes you more like the perpetrator. And in becoming like that, they win. The only response, and it is by far the most difficult response, and it's the most difficult path to walk, when you have been touched by violence, by evil, when you have like this trauma, when others have hurt you, the most difficult thing and the only correct thing is to embody the opposite of that. You must be the opposite of evil. The evil that touched and hurt you, you must use that to embody its opposite, because when you go the other way, you become more like them. And now you are, what happened to you, you aren't stopping it with, because when evil touches you, the hardest thing in the world to do is to stop it with you, to break that chain. Is to stand there and fucking hold it with you and push it down into the dirt and not let it get up. Because it's a lot easier to just join forces with it and externalize it and do it to everyone. And now you're just passing it on, double it and give it to the next person. That's easy. That's almost the default response. That's the unthinking response. The most difficult thing to do is to take that hurt and that pain and embody its opposite. And that's what I'm trying to do. And it's really hard, and I'm trying every single day. And I've never spoken about this, but yeah, I know, I understand what it's like when someone is murdered, someone you love. And the trial and the way that it impacts everyone and how long it takes and all this kind of and all of the grief and the funeral and this and that, and I understand it all. And it makes you want to fucking rage, but that makes you more like them, and you can't ever do that because you must be the opposite. So that's what I think about this. Is I think that violence begets violence. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. And it's the most difficult thing in the world to find compassion for your enemy, for the people that have hurt you. And it's just as difficult to acknowledge the hurt that you carry and feel how you have been wounded, and to move with love despite your scars. That's difficult. It's hard to feel your hurt and honor it and actually try to understand it and approach it with curiosity and to move forward with it and to love despite that. It's difficult, but if you can do that, you get to be a sanctuary for other people that you fucking crawl on your hands and knees building this road and paving this road, and then one day it's built and you get up off your knees and you're no longer crawling and then you're walking and now you're running and you might be limping a little bit because you were wounded, but you're running down this road, and then one day you work out, oh man, I'm all right, and I'm just strolling, I'm having a lovely walk down this road that I used to be crawling down. And then you're going to look back and you're going to see someone who is face down in the dirt, dragging themselves down this road, and you get to turn back and offer them your hand and lift them up and be like, I've already done this. I can show you how to do it. I can help you. And if you can overcome your hurts and your trauma, all this kind of stuff, the most beautiful thing is when someone hits you with what happened to them, you get to look at them and go, I understand. And that's so helpful because when and I've never spoken about this publicly and I'm not going to go into details, but when it first happened and I told people, it ruined their day and that made me feel worse because other people didn't know what to do with it. And then I told one person who had been through something similar and they told me how they got through it. And it was the most beautiful thing because I was like, finally someone who gets it. And then I felt this heartbreak for this friend who also understood it because, like, oh my God, I was not able to be there for you because I didn't understand. And when you understand, you get to, you can lend a hand. And that's true because it rhymes. So yeah. Anyway, I think I'm going to end the podcast there. Big week for America, and get well soon. I want to be a part of it. I want to be there for the end and the rise. I don't know. You guys will be all right. I just think you need to. You got to love each other and be friends, and that's really difficult, but you'll figure it out. All right. I'm Lewis Spears. Thank you very much. I'm going to continue on Patreon. The Patreon episode will be up shortly. Have a shit one. Bye.